Ms. Lini Negrali to take the floor. You have the floor, madam.
Just over a month later, in a powerful sermon delivered from a church in Bethlehem on Christmas Day, the same day Israel had killed 250 Palestinians, including at least 86 people, many from the same family, massacred in a single strike on Maghazi refugee camp. Palestinian pastor Munzar Ishaq addressed his congregation and the world, and he said, and I quote, "Gaza as we know it no longer exists. This is an annihilation. This is a genocide. We will rise. We will stand up again from the midst of destruction, as we have always done as Palestinians, though this is by far maybe the biggest blow we have received." But he said, no apologies will be accepted after the genocide. What has been done has been done. I want you to look in the mirror and ask, where was I when Gaza was going through a genocide? Where was I when Gaza was going through a genocide?
There was the sound of that two people coming up the stairs. Thank God, my ears were still working normally, but how could I get rid of this fever? I had to get up again. This time, I wrapped myself in the blanket and sat up. The engineer came in with the priest behind him. The fairy cat brought up the rear and went under the bed. The engineer said,
"Behold, Excellency, here he is."
Then I stepped aside. "You weren't sleeping?" I asked the priest.
No, not sleeping. Do you need me for anything?
I was up against the greatest challenge now. How could I ask a priest to help a besieged in the fighting? The engineer reached under the bed and grabbed that cat, taking it in his arms. What an easy life that cat had. He had forgotten all about people and was content with a few cats. I knew what he was waiting for my discussion with the priest to be over, so I would go on the roof. The silence went on for an unusually long time. I had to break it. "Father, do you know why I brought you two from the church to this place?"
I have my suspicion.
"What, for example? Don't be afraid, speak up."
Well, I suppose that something big is going to happen tonight for you and your comrades. What that will be, I cannot say exactly. And you have gathered us here because you want to keep watching over strangers in the city.
I didn't have time to discuss it with him, or, more important, the strength. Whatever the reason, the important thing is that I expect you to cooperate with me.
Cooperate? Cooperate in what?
Listen carefully. You've been here 2 days, and tomorrow, at dawn, you leave the city. During that time, how many times have you heard explosions?
I haven't counted, but I'll never forget the shell that destroyed the church. Anyway, I am going to report it to the central dioceses and probably raise the matter in a letter to the Red Cross.
I forced a smile to keep him from seeing the sneer on my face. And the Red Cross will do what?
I don't know. Just doing my duty.
With a movement of my index finger, I invited him to come closer. Now we were face to face.
Oh, it seems that you are in a bad way. You should rest, right?
You bet. I'm in a terrible way. But I have to tell you something first. Tonight, there's something very important I have to do. Very important. There's a certain machine on that side of the waterway that keeps our artillery from destroying the enemy batteries that have been shelling the city. Tonight, a number of the boys have decided that this machine is going to meet with a disaster, but a problem has come up that only you can solve.
Only me? What is it?
You see the shape I'm in. Tonight I have to act as a spotter for the boys, but this illness, which couldn't have come at a worse time, has ruined everything, which is where you come in. Somebody has to keep his eyes open and report to me where the enemy fire is coming from. He got the point perfectly. His head went back and seemed to be considering it. But then he said,
Are you kidding? I don't know how to fight. I just came to collect church property.
No, I'm not kidding. We'll go up on there on the roof together. The only thing I want you to do is to locate the enemy fire when the shelling starts. He turned to the engineer, hoping perhaps he might help, but the engineer kept towing with the cat, which was the best thing he could do at that time.
That's not a problem. But I am a priest. How can you expect a priest to take a direct role in a fighting? That's impossible.
Although I was wrapped from head to toe in the blanket, I was still shivering. But the worst part was that he had turned me down. The priest was probably closer to me in every respect than the engineer, both of us being devout with a belief in human resurrection. But now when he had to act, he stepped aside. Now everything between us was over. So I should have said my piece. Listen, I don't want anyone to be upset with me on what may be the last night we spent together. But right now, under that very rain, several children are waiting for their mother to come home. I don't know what a story their father has made up for them, or how many of them will be able to sleep after they hear it. This morning their mother was just as alive as you and me. But then, a shell identical to the one that hit your church and that you were going to complain about to God knows who landed right next to the place where she sells greens. Know where she is now? Right now, her body is in the freezer of an ice cream company, getting rock hard. But I didn't say anything. Instead, I started coughing uncountably. But the anger in my face spoke volumes. Stunned, Hovannes bowed his hand to his collar and, clasping a golden cross, said,
I swore by this holy cross that I would only work for peace.
I've nothing more to say to you. You can go. Hovannes got up and went to the stairs, but after a few steps, he turned and said,
There is one thing I can do for you. However, I can pray for the well-being of you and your comrades.
Pray then. But want to know what I think about that kind of praying? It's like if some able-bodied man were to go around begging. When you get to Isfahan, just don't forget one thing.
What's that?
As I told you before, the Holocaust Memorial for the people of the city. That's something you can do, right? I was burning up with fever and might have been delirious. Hovannes went downstairs, while the engineer still played with the cat.
But he said, no apologies will be accepted after the genocide. What has been done has been done. I want you to look in the mirror and ask, where was I when Gaza was going through a genocide? Where was I when Gaza was going through a genocide?